So many people make it sound like you need to be a millionaire to do keto. Grass-fed, organic. Is it really that expensive?
So today we're gonna talk about how much it costs us to live our keto lifestyle, and we're gonna give like you wellness warriors some tips and tricks to help you make better decisions in your life.
Hello, Wellness Warriors. Welcome to Mind Blowing Health and Wellness with Violet. Pat Chai Edition. I'm Violet.
And I'm Pat. So let's start with my profile of spending groceries for the sake of our wellness of our warrior. I have my two boys half of the time. I spend like around $750 per month on groceries.
Total groceries.
Total groceries, like grocery store. So that doesn't count like restaurants. We're gonna come to that in a second.
I really don't think that I spend $1,000 or like three-quarters of $1,000 on groceries per month.
Okay.
I spend a lot less now than I used to before. That's 100%, because I I buy a lot less processed foods.
But for people who don't know, there's you
I
and one
I
daughter.
have myself and my daughter, and
they're all teen, by the way, teens.
and so
they're
like
all
just
16.
for clarity, like the truth is that for each our numbers include our kids half the time, because like so on the every other week that you have your kid, I'm also sometimes like buying food for them too.
Yeah.
So like I'm just thinking like what's causing your bill to be so high? But I know for sure myself, I used to have a lot of more expenses because of the processed foods I was buying. They go quickly, right? Because you don't tend to eat one of anything, so they go quickly. So my bill has come down. I don't believe I'm doing $1,000 a month. Now this is interesting because I wish I would have checked. It's a lot of money to me. It's a lot of money to me.
But
okay.
no, that's what I want to go. Like I remember when I was young, my mom, my dad, like they had a budget, and it was like $100 per week. So this 700 per month, let's say it's like about 175 per week. I would say.
There's no way I'm spending $175 in the grocery store per week. I know that for a fact. I'm not.
Yeah. For sure, once a week I go to my my grocery store, because like whenever I get the boys for a couple of days, like I go buy food, and it's usually around 125 that I spend, like with the meat for
Weekly.
the next few days. Yeah, weekly. So yeah, maybe in that number though, what I didn't take out was the one time every 4 weeks, 6 weeks that I go to Costco, that I'm gonna buy the toiletries, so like the Kleenex, the toothpaste and everything. So that probably is factored in those numbers.
For myself, I know that first of all, on a weekly basis, I need to buy milk. Yeah, on a weekly basis, I buy milk. Okay, and then like when I go every like few weeks, I will go to get things for my daughter. So things that I don't eat that she eats.
Yeah,
It's like cereals, and like mostly she takes cheese for school for snack, but so cheese and like those kind of things.
Yeah.
So and maybe like in there I'll buy some soda or whatever. And so, but that's not every week. That's like once every maybe 3 weeks that I'll do that, and that bill is coming to about $100 because it's just like stuff for her.
Okay.
And then.
But when you go to Costco, for example, because that's the thing, like you have a bigger house than me, I have a smaller condo, so you have a freezer. But whenever you go to Costco, like you buy all your meat for, I don't know, 3 weeks, or even
It's
a
not
month.
2 weeks. Oh, that's right. That's my point.
Okay.
Is that when I buy meat, it's always a large amount. So like I'm doing a one-time purchase of maybe $200-$300 of meat.
Okay.
But it's lasting me like seriously, like it's lasting me months. So like for example, if you think about recently, I needed to empty my freezer. Do you remember how many months it took me to empty the freezer? It took months for me to empty the freezer. So I'm only doing like a few $100s, but it's lasting me months. So again, this is that thing where I feel like, yeah, like I could see why people might think that, well, okay, let's see. I'm not sure where this is going.
The problem is I don't have a big freezer to store the meat, so I try to avoid like buying too much meat because I can freeze it. So I was trying to think like, oh, what are my my main expenses in grocery, and definitely like meat, vegetables, like the usual, yogurt. Like I did yogurt because I did take like stuff for my sons like in there too, nuts, nut butter, cheese, ice cream for kid, milk and eggs. So that's my usual list, like to be
For
able
weekly.
to a weekly, like to be able to make lunch for my sons, to be able to eat like meat and veggies. Like I took a decision like lately to completely eliminate French
Oh, what's
fries.
missing from there is bread. For
Bread.
their sandwiches.
Yeah. You're right. But there's some like things there that are definitely more expensive, like nut butter are more expensive. So once in a while, I
Cheese.
do allow it. Cheese is more expensive too. The for the rest, like it depends. Like sometimes I'm gonna like grab beef because I do like having a good steak on the barbecue, but definitely beef is a bit more expensive. So that's like the beef. I try to grab it when I go to Costco because it's a little bit cheaper, or you have a bigger quantity for the same price. So
So I think the thing that I'm going to say there for myself, I know like I'm just looking at your list and I can
mhm,
pull out the things like for sure milk every week because my daughter drinks milk.
mhm,
So the thing that I'm going to say that I probably do get weekly, but it's not. So this is where, because of how Violet does her groceries, it kind of plays an interesting role here. I might get like a bi-weekly. I will get vegetables,
mhm,
but
mhm.
I buy vegetables based on what I think I might eat, and I only get them every other week because I don't end up eating them. So like it's like
Yeah.
I'll buy and then I'll be like, why did I do that? And then I won't buy for another week or two and then I'll buy. And so like again, even my vegetables is very sporadic. What I do tend to buy is salad.
Mm.
So that was the thing I didn't think of before, is like
So,
milk and salad. But like vegetables,
as you can see, we're like
very
two
different.
different kind of shopper. Let us know in the comment. I'm very curious, like
What
to,
kind
to
of
learn
shoppers?
what kind of shopper, like because I know people like, or maybe especially like in Europe and France, like they go every day. Like they go to the grocery, get the food because they want the maximum freshness. Get the food there. They're gonna eat like at the next meal. For me, like it's a once a week trip, like for sure at the grocery store, and a once a month trip to Costco to get like the toiletries.
Because even like my
So.
eggs, I would say, like even
Mm.
my eggs, like I don't buy that every week. So I find it's very interesting.
Just for the sake of it, because people like you, Wellness Warrior, often ask us like restaurants, like is it possible in keto? Like I do spend like probably too much money on restaurant. I'm gonna put the the graphic here, like a little bit less than 300 per month.
Restaurants for me, it's like I don't want to cook and you're not around. So then I have to put a restaurant. It can be anywhere as high as I would probably guess $200 if I'm really feeling lazy and I'm not doing.
Yeah.
But my typical month, I would probably say is more around, if I reach $100, that's probably a lot.
But it's not a systematic
No.
expense like in restaurant. Like for us, we do like every other week, every other Friday we have our Friday. So like we did like just right now it's a takeout, but like soon we'll be able to go back in restaurants. I'm looking forward to that. And like once in a while, if I'm rushed, like for the boys, I'm gonna go grab a Subway or something like that.
Obviously, the reason we're making this video is because so many people try to say that keto is just too expensive. So for me, in my purchases, I don't have to buy as much processed foods as I used to buy before. So clearly my spending has come down. But what's interesting to me in terms of keto is that for myself and my food purchases, a lot of what Violet eats in the house is around meat, eggs, fish. And fish, I mean, we're talking, sardines and whatever. So don't, I'm not that fancy. But meat, eggs, fish, and then the low glycemic vegetables and salads that I eat. So what's I find helps me a lot with my food bill, if you're just talking about the keto foods and like that side of the story, is that I buy my meat when it's on special, or I buy it in bulk from the farm or from Costco. So I end up kind of saving, because the bigger the packages you can buy, the cheaper the food is going to be.
But
And also the cheaper meats are the fattier meats, which are the ones that I like anyway. So it works out.
But people could argue that because you say you end up saving by buying whole food. I remember maybe last week I went and like bought two. Okay, I have two example. I bought like 2 head of romaine lettuce that were $2.50 or $3.50 each. A pound of asparagus ran me like $7. Like people could argue that like, oh yeah, just grab a bag of French fries and like it's gonna cost you $4 and you're gonna have like 2 meals out of that.
The difference though, Pat, is that between me and you is that I would have saw the price and said, I guess I'm just eating meat today. That would have been my answer.
Yeah, we have a daughter.
My
She's
daughter
gonna-
doesn't eat asparagus, so that wouldn't have mattered.
Oh,
And
okay.
honestly, if
Yeah, the
like
French
if
fries I'm talking
the
for the
romaine,
kids.
okay, so the romaine lettuce, maybe I would have bought it, right? The romaine, I would have bought the romaine. But I want to also, so flip side of the coin. like one of the things that I'm going to say, and it's not always the popular answer, but it's part of the answer, is eating the French fries might be cheaper now, but costly later for me, for physically. So, but I still think, and this is where like the way Violet shops comes into play, is that even if the romaine lettuce would have been $2.50, like what was the price of broccoli? What was the price of cauliflower? What was the price of cabbage? I just probably would have kept going around the store until I found a price that I thought was like worthy of me buying it, right? If I had to buy the romaine, then I would buy it. But like, the perfect example is we were supposed to make tacos. I went to buy pork. The price of pork was exorbitant. We had something else that day. I didn't buy it, right? So sometimes I take the choice of saying, nope, guess what, guys, we're having something else, right? Because why would I pay that for pork, for ground pork? Like the price didn't make sense.
Commodities, I guess, like has a price. Like even like I was talking about the chicken pre-cooked. Yeah, a small like 2-pound chicken is gonna like run you $12 at your regular grocery store, when probably in the fridge is gonna be like $6 or $7. Like, and it's gonna take you maybe 45 an hour. Yeah, an hour to put on barbecue. So you can make it a little bit less expensive if you're willing to put the effort. And you plan a little bit more your time. That's when that's where I was going.
We're going back to the whole planning thing again.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There's
it's true, but
oftentimes the answer is about planning.
Yeah, because of course, like if you come back from work or you have a late meeting, like it, and it happens to me all the time. Like I'm not a good planner, and sometimes like, oh yeah, I'm getting my boys like tonight, but I have a meeting until 5:30 that day for whatever reason. Then I need to rush to the grocery store, come back, do something quick. Most of the time, like I can do it if it's a steak, and especially with the barbecue, like this summer, like it's not long. But like often I come back with a chicken or some fried chicken, or like something that was cooked in the grocery that I know that is good, or at least keto friendly. But one thing is for sure, like keto doesn't have to be expensive. Like depending on what they have on special, if you felt like having asparagus but they're like out of price, just go like buy cabbage.
I just thought of something else.
Yeah.
Chances are very good that when you were talking about that $2.50 head of lettuce and that asparagus, you were at the regular store, not at the fruit store that we always go to, that we get the great deals. Like the lettuce is like sometimes $4 for $1, and like it's crazy. And then it's the same better quality even. Quality. And I do it all the time. I'm not just putting it on you. I know 100% I do it. I will go. I'm already in Costco, and I'm gonna grab lettuce that's costing 3 times what I would have gotten at the fruit place.
I know, when I admit it, I'm a bad planner, and like sometimes like I have my boys like every 2-3 days, like we do like some quick changes still, and I have 2 full days before I get them to do that, but I don't. Like I'd rather like do fun stuff, and
that the day you're getting the boys is the day that you're going groceries.
Always, all the time, and
maybe you're European.
Oh, maybe. But if by any like I'm looking at my agenda the same day, and I have a meeting till 5:30, oh crap. So,
one of the things I could say that causes me to waste money is buying vegetables that I don't eat. And I will buy them thinking with all the good intentions that I'm going to eat them. I don't eat them. I'm not even swift enough to feed them to my pet, who eats veg. So like I don't do it. Like, and it's just like it ends up going in the garbage, and then makes me angry. But then a few weeks later, I do the same thing over again. Okay. So I feel like part of my problem is I'm not accepting that really vegetables are becoming less and less and less a part of my meal plan. And I need to accept that.
But that's interesting. Like you said, your meal plan, but you don't really plan your meals like in advance either. If you were planning, if you were planning that, okay, tomorrow I'm gonna have this and this, or before you, but you do grocery like 2 weeks in advance, so you can't really plan.
I always plan my meals. What do you mean?
Right. No, but I mean like
I'm so confused what you're talking about right now.
No, but you don't know that the Monday you're gonna eat that, and Tuesday you're gonna eat that, and Wednesday you're gonna eat that. Like
what I always know is I'm gonna have some meat.
Yeah. That's what I meant. Like,
but like, so this is again the difference between us. I don't care what I eat as long as I know. Like, so there is a meal plan. I've got like fish, and I've got like whatever kind of meat I have in the freezer. And what'll happen is at the beginning, so like on Sunday or whatever day, like I'm gonna bring some of that up and put it in the fridge to defrost. And every day I'm gonna go grab something and put it in the pan. Yeah. But like I don't plan it in the sense that like I know which day I'm having whatever happens to be left at the end of so as I go through, my daughter sometimes has an input, So she'll say like, "Oh, can we have this today?" So like, because she sees what's in the fridge and say, "Oh, can we make that?" And so whatever, I'll accommodate. But there's always some kind of meat or eggs or fish that I can quickly like throw in a pan or whatever. The veg, so I am planning it, right? Like when I buy it, I actually think I'm going to eat it.
Yeah, but then laziness,
right? But then,
kicks in.
yeah, like that whole thing of like, I actually have to cook it, I have to spice it, I have to this and that. And I was like, and I might do it once out of the amount that I bought, because I buy for like the week, thinking, oh, I'll eat it over the week. And then I don't. And so I end up just having meat. And that's just because, you know why that happens? Actually, now I'm thinking about it, because I don't like pre-cooking my veg, because when I pre-cook it, the next time unless it's cabbage works well, but most of the other veg, when you pre-cook it, the next time you go to eat it doesn't taste quite the same if I don't feel like making it that day. Same like salad, I never pre-make salad. So then if I don't feel like making it that day, I can end up losing my salad. Right? So yeah, I think that's probably part of the problem. What I should do, if I was actually thinking ahead, is I would only buy veg enough for the days that you're going to be there, and just let you cook it. And that way it would actually get eaten, right? Because then there'd be two of us to eat it instead of just one. And yay, and that would be the end of the story. So
but you're right, like,
that's a smarter thing to do.
I rarely like. Sometimes I'm gonna like get a cucumber one, an extra one that's gonna like, and end up not being eaten. But like,
but can I also point out that the other reason you don't throw away veg is because you always eat veg.
Yeah, true.
Like they're like
if
really
I
like
eat it, yeah. When I'm by myself, I don't care. Like I care less about veg than when I'm with my boys. Like I try to push veg on them. But like, if
well, why? Okay, that's a good question. Why do you try to push veg on them? We know veg is not good, so why do you try to push on them? That's an interesting question. I love that you just said that.
It's better than rice and French fries.
But
I don't know.
They could just have a bunch of meat like you.
Yeah. It's well, but they love salad. So one of like if I have them 2 days, like it's one salad and one like, but they like cucumber. But I don't know. It's just habit. I think it's just like honestly culture habit. A meal is composed of a meat and a side, and like, but like never tried it actually. Make just like
I honestly, because I've broken the mold of what my culture says a meal is, because my culture says a meal is rice with a side of meat. So since I've already broken that mold, then it doesn't matter to me. Because it doesn't matter to me, like so because food has never mattered to me and my daughter. If I just put meat in front of her, she eats it. And she's like, whatever, she'll eat it and she's gone. So like we both have that opportunity. So yeah, I can technically be lazy. But at the same time, like, again, I feel like I just buy the veg because every once in a while I feel like eating it. But really I should probably just buy for one day.
Yeah.
That'd probably be the smarter thing. If I just bought for one day, because that day that I'm buying it, I actually want it. Tip number one, simple. The more simple you make your keto meals, the easier it is to keep them on a budget. The simplest of simple keto meals, just eat meat, just eat eggs, just eat fish. That's a simple keto meal.
Yeah, the simplest. If you want to add some vegetables, it's not complicated. Like either like for me, it's going to be broccoli, cauliflower. I do like cauliflower. It's a good like if you get them on special, buy 2, 3, 4. You mash them, you rice them, and like they're easy to warm up. Like if you don't have time to do it during the week, so good options for.
I should start buying cauliflower when you're coming over.
Especially the weekend.
But honestly, I think the thing is that I'm not as big of a fan of cauliflower. But yeah, like they're easy. There's lots of easy options if you really want to add some kind of veg. One of the things that makes keto expensive is when we're trying to bake replacement things, replacement snacks, replacement bread, replacement, pizza comparable thing. Like, so if you're trying to do all the replacement stuff, then it's going to be expensive.
Yeah, because almond flour, coconut flour, these are the two of the most expensive thing you can buy.
All the sweeteners, the
sweeteners,
artificial sweeteners,
Sure,
expensive.
like the Swerve, the erythritol. So if you're tight on a budget, better eliminate those. You don't need them. For me, like one of my most expensive place, like in my grocery, the nuts, and I do like them. And when I'm at the same place, I feel like you, when I get them, I overeat them. So I really need to try working on not buying them anymore. Because just like and especially I don't go often to Costco, so I buy them at the regular grocery store. So a little container of maybe 100 grams of macadamia nuts, like it's $12. Like every time I I go through them, I take them, but I shouldn't. So like nuts, you don't really need nuts.
I'm gonna say that that's probably another place where I've started to save a lot more money because I was buying nuts before and I don't buy nuts anymore. So yeah, you're right. That's
Yeah,
another place
that's
where my
another.
grocery bill has come down significantly because yeah, I was going through them at a ridiculous pace. It
Yeah,
was not smart.
yeah. Beef is another expensive meat to have. If you like you're tighter on a budget, like chicken is usually pork is much cheaper than so you're kind of fine with chicken pork instead of beef. Like ground, although like or you can just buy the ground beef, like it's a little bit less expensive than a regular like T-bone or something like that, and you can do good stuff with ground beef too.
I also think that sometimes we can buy like the tougher cuts of beef
Mm.
and then slow cook them
Poke them, yeah.
because then they become much more tender afterwards. So
As for fish, I like fish, but like I know what I noticed that like the salmon and trout is a bit more expensive than the all the other white fish. Though on a keto diet, they're probably better because they're fattier. So if you buy the white fish, sometimes you do find something that tastes good. It's not everybody that likes the taste or the smell of the white fish, but maybe you can add a little bit of oil with your cooking or a piece of cheese with it to have a little bit more fat than the white fish that I think usually is really really lean.
I'm not a big fan of fish,
Mm,
obviously,
yeah.
as I don't think we have to say that too many times. Anybody who's watched the show before.
Although you taste one like the piece like that I cooked the other day. You didn't like vomit on the table. That was good.
It wasn't horrible, but would I
Uh,
choose it
no,
over
no,
some
yeah.
meat? No, not really. But here's the but. I do know that one of the reasons that I allow myself and I push myself, actually, I would say, to eat sardines
Mhm.
is because you get some nice calcium in there because the bones of the sardines are actually in there. So you can grab some calcium. And of course, the sardine has all the internals there. So you're getting, like, again, that whole idea of nose to tail. So you're getting a lot of the good stuff that's still inside the sardines. The other thing I'm going to say is that, like, when it comes to fish, yeah, like, obviously going for the fattier cuts of fish is a better, and wild caught is also
Meat,
better.
yeah.
So you know what? This one of the few times where I'm going to say, if you can afford it, I would lean more towards those just because they actually are healthier for you.
Mm,
But like you said, you can add oil, healthy oils like
mhm.
olive oil or like to the fish, just to give it that energy that it's going to need because if you're going for a white fish, it's going to have a little bit less energy in it
Yeah.
as well. And I guess the other thing that I'm going to bring up here is coupons in Canada.
Mm,
You can actually have coupons for a lot of things, sometimes for meat, but for veg and
mm,
like, so sometimes just using coupons to try to like get a better price on things, and then of course you can try to stock up and
mm,
buy a bunch of it because you have a coupon.
yeah.
So it's another place where you might be able to have a bit of a
But
rebate.
yeah, if you're willing to shop around, like sometime in the flyers, like you're gonna see that like chicken is in like on special at this place, but on this place and this other place is like it's pork, and this other place is steak. So it's more time consuming. And I had a colleague that was like coupon, like all the like coupon shopping all the time. And they were leaving on a weekend and do a 2 hours road trip like to do all the places. But yeah, it can be worth it if you're willing to spend a little bit more time on shopping than the easier way to just go to the grocery store and grab what you need,
And we're pretty
like I do.
lucky too, I think, because our grocery stores are relatively close together. So you
Mm,
can like
yeah.
start at the furthest point and just make your way back and stop for whatever you need. Which I remember that's what
Mm,
my mom used to always do.
okay.
For me, because again, I don't tend to grocery shop like every single week. When there's chicken on special somewhere, I just go and get chicken. When there's
Mm.
pork on special somewhere, I just go and get pork. So I don't have to like run around as much because I'm just going in the store for one thing.
So for sure, like you take my number, they're high, but definitely conveniency nuts. They have a price on your bill at that like when you add it like towards the month. But I think it's pretty clear you don't need to be a millionaire to eat keto. It's
Not at all.
probably even cheaper to eat keto than just eating a bunch of processed food and fast food all the time. I mean, even like
I for sure feel like because of how I eat
mm,
now, my grocery bill has significantly come down. There's a video on the channel which I'm going to link where I talk about what I used to spend on groceries
oh,
versus
okay.
like I didn't talk about what I was spending now, but I did talk about processed foods, how much money I was giving to processed foods,
Mhm.
and it's crazy. I think that the important thing is that when you're really doing keto, like every single day, like that's just how you eat, you are going to see the benefit. Because the other thing that we did notice is how much less food we actually eat. And I feel like the good example of this goes back to restaurants. When we first started going to our favorite restaurant, the barbecue place that's just meat, how much food we were able to eat compared to when we went, like the last time we were able to actually go and sit down and eat in there, we didn't eat as much. The truth is, we were satiated. It was fun, and we left. And so I think that's the other thing, is that we don't really realize that once our body is functioning better, we don't need as much energy to push it forward because it's functioning better. It's not trying to repair damage from weeks and weeks of sugar that you've been eating. It just, it functions better.
So guys, this was a great conversation. If you did enjoy the video, please share it to as many people as possible. This is very helpful. Like, it helps you, it helps us.
There are some videos on the screen right there that are going to help you to improve your health. Wellness Warriors, always so happy that you come back. Everybody who's new, welcome. I want to thank you for watching Mind Blowing Health and Wellness with Violet, Pat Chat Edition.
Talk to you next week.
We'll talk to you next week.